The sack man, a shadow that whispers your name. The first thing you'd notice was the smell, rotten grain and wet earth, like a cellar left forgotten for years. Then the sound, the slow, dragging scrape of burlap against cobblestones just outside your window. Parents in the rural villages of Portugal and Spain spoke of him in hushed tones, never too loud, lest he mistake their fear for an invitation. Finish your supper, or he'll take you away in his sack. Come home before dark, or you'll hear his footsteps behind you. He had no face, no eyes, just a looming silhouette, his back bent under the weight of that endless gaping sack. Some children swore they saw shapes moving inside it. Others, braver or more foolish, claimed they'd peeked through their shutters at midnight and watched him pause beneath a street lamp, only to see the sack twitch on its own. There were stories, of course. A boy in Galicia who refused to stop stealing apples vanished one autumn evening, his shoes left neatly by the orchard gate. A girl in Andalusia who mocked her grandmother's warnings woke to 3 long scratches on her bedroom door and the faint imprint of a hand in flour dusted across the kitchen floor. But the most chilling detail? The sack man never hurried. He didn't need to. Because no matter how fast you ran, his footsteps always matched yours. His breath always rasped just behind your neck. And when he finally opened that sack, it wasn't empty. It never was. The White Lady, a ghostly embrace at the edge of midnight. The mist curled like pale fingers around the old stone bridge as you stepped onto it, the wood groaning beneath your feet. That's when you saw her, a woman in white, her gown untouched by the wind, her face veiled in moonlight. She wasn't always there, only when the hour was late, when the road was empty, when your heart carried some unspoken sorrow of its own. Some said she was a noblewoman who threw herself from the castle walls after her lover betrayed her. Others whispered she was a bride, forever waiting at the altar for a groom who never came. But all agreed on one thing: you must never meet her gaze. Those who did spoke of eyes black as a starless night, drowning them in visions of their own deepest regrets. A lost love, a cruel word, a fateful choice that could never be undone. Some wanderers swore she simply faded away, leaving only the scent of wilted roses. Others were not so lucky. There was the merchant from Bavaria, who vanished near the old cemetery, his lantern still burning on the ground. The young soldier in France who followed her shimmering figure into the woods. They found his uniform neatly folded by the river, his boots filled with ice-cold water. And then there were the ones who returned, days or even years later. Their hair turned white, their voices hollow as they murmured the same phrase: "She showed me what waits for me, and it is already here." The Babau, the shadow that haunts Italian nightmares. Every child in Italy grows up hearing whispered warnings. When night falls and shadows stretch across bedroom walls, there is one unbreakable rule: never challenge the silence. Because in those moments between heartbeats, when the house seems to hold its breath, that is when he may appear. They call him the Babau, a name echoing through generations, heavy with ancestral terror. His origins are lost in the mists of time, but elders tell of a wicked man who once wandered the isolated villages of the Apennines centuries ago. A stranger in a black hat with bony hands who stole disobedient children under night's cloak. No one knows how many small bodies he hid in the dark forests before enraged villagers hunted him like an animal. They say they burned him alive in a clearing, his final scream a curse that seeped into the earth. The next morning, there were no bones or ashes, just a heavy silence and the deep knowledge that something had survived. The Babau is no longer a man, if he ever was. He is a presence that feeds on fear and disobedience. He comes first as a smell, soot and charred flesh, like a house burned long ago. Then comes the sound, 3 precise scratches on the wardrobe wood, so soft they could be imagined. The temperature plummets, the air thickens like syrup, and then, when the child finally dares open their eyes, he is there. A figure too tall, too thin, shrouded in a coat that seems woven from pure darkness. His wide-brimmed hat hides where his face should be, only a bottomless void that pulls at the gaze like an abyss. His hands, when visible, are long and unnaturally jointed, fingers moving like spiders testing their threads. The Babau does not speak, does not breathe. He only watches as the child's terror blooms like a poisonous flower. Parents believe it's just a story to frighten the disobedient, but children know the truth. The Babau doesn't just take those who break rules, he takes those who listen too closely, who see too much, who feel his presence in the darkest corners of the room. And when he finally extends those skeletal hands, screaming does no good. The entire house could be sleeping around them, but no one ever hears. Some children vanish without a trace. Others are found days later, mute and with hair turned white, unable to explain what they saw. The few who regain their voice can only whisper fragments of a place where shadows have weight, where time doesn't flow right, where something, the black dog, the omen that waltz between worlds. You're never truly alone on England's backroads, not when the mist rolls in from the moors, thick as a burial shroud. That's when you'll feel it first, the prickle between your shoulder blades, the copper taste of old blood flooding your mouth. Then silence. Absolute, as if the very earth holds its breath. That's when the clicking begins, not the neat tap of a domestic hound's nails, but the slow, deliberate percussion of something far older. Each step sounds like bones knocking together in a hollow chest. You won't turn around. Not yet. Because every child of East Anglia knows, the moment you acknowledge Black Shuck is the moment your death begins counting down. They say his eyes are the worst part, not their hellish glow, though that's terrible enough to drive men mad, but the way they contain entire histories. Gaze into them too long and you'll see. The hanged highwayman whose soul first twisted into this form, the drowned sailor whose last breath still steams from Shuck's nostrils. Your own face already decaying in the reflection of his pupils. His footprints don't merely indent the earth, they scorch it. Farmers sometimes find perfect paw-shaped burns in their fields after storms, the barley withered black in perfect circles. The vicar at Blithburg will show you the marks still seared into the north door of his church, where in 1577 the beast burst through mid-sermon, killing 2 worshippers where they knelt. Here's what no one tells you about surviving an encounter. The ones who live aren't the lucky ones. They're the cursed. You'll develop sensitivities, smelling graves before they're dug, hearing the click-click of phantom claws whenever someone near you is marked for death. Your reflection will sometimes show Shuck standing behind you, his maw stretched in what might be a grin. And on the eve of every full moon, you'll wake choking on the taste of wet earth and iron, certain something large just finished circling your bed. Most terrifying of all, Black Shuck never appears the same way twice. To a fisherman on the Norfolk coast, he's a shaggy monstrosity dripping with seaweed and the corpses of shipwrecked men. To a barmaid in Suffolk, he takes the form of a handsome stranger, until the firelight reveals his shadow has the wrong number of legs. But every version shares 3 traits: eyes that burn but cast no light, a smell like a battlefield after the ravens have feasted, the uncanny sense he's not just watching you, but remembering you for later. The old ones claim there's a way to lift the curse, to leave a trail of graveyard dirt and sea salt between yourself and the beast, then sleep with a silver coin under your tongue. But those who've tried it whisper that it only makes Shuck playful, and a hunting dog that likes to play with its food is far more dangerous than one that simply kills.